Holy shit, this series is so long. I mean, 20 years of sailing the high seas, battling a cavalcade of warlords, marines, and government agents, island hopping across the world, and we still don't have One Piece in our hands. That's kind of like putting together a giant bookcase from IKEA. You're almost done. It's almost completed, except you are missing one fucking piece. But you know, while Luffy might not become the Pirate King in our lifetime, at least he can be the Manga King for now. This year marks 20 years of the One Piece anime, and as well as 22 years of the manga. And whether it was by God or science, One Piece is still the reigning ruler of Japanese comics, with over 450 million copies sold worldwide by this time of recording. Over 900 chapters and 800 episodes of content is a massive chore to get through, and despite this hurdle for newcomers, One Piece exceeds greatly in long-term reader engagement thanks to its world building, characters, and art style. However, it's not by all means a perfect series. There will be times where situations will be recycled, and you can even draw comparisons to previous arc systems. Plus, the anime has a few problems on hand that makes watching it more like a companion piece to the manga. Now, I know this because I have a master's degree in One Piece literature. Don't believe me? Here's my paperwork and the massive collection of One Piece manga I currently own at the moment. What you see before you is an ugly fucker, which is unfortunately the guy talking to you right now. God, you're so fucking ugly. Looks aside, I know a lot about One Piece, and I can be humble enough to poke holes in not only myself, but also the narrative. Strangely though, it's what draws the numbers in to keep watching or reading the series no matter what. For people wanting action shown in battles, One Piece has a gatling of knuckle-pounding fights that will keep those viewers hooked. Folks wanting a bit of comedy will be thoroughly entertained in how varied the gags can get. And if you're looking to blow your nose to the emotional drama, then One Piece has many moments in it that will make you want to cry. One Piece is a property that everyone can enjoy, even if you prefer not to watch the whole thing out of spite, which I recommend you do not. But here's a question though. Where did it all start? What was the magic formula that keeps people from all over the world coming back? And after examining the story unfold, the characters in depth, and the subtle hints and clues along the way, I can finally draw a conclusion. Some might agree and others might not, and where One Piece got its momentum, and it's definitely here. A simple walk to Arlong Park. Arlong Park is what many fans consider the start of One Piece as a whole, going from a simple action comic, banking on the success of Dragon Ball's legacy, into the emperor of manga sales as we know it. Its characters became more interesting, the action became more intense, and the world opened itself up to endless possibilities for the story to go. So today, we not only celebrate the 20th anniversary of the One Piece anime, but also to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Arlong Park arc. So I welcome you, old and new fans of the show. Please join me as we take a much needed walk to Arlong Park. Let's begin with a basic synopsis of the story. Luffy and his crew are on the chase to get their ship back from Nami, a cat burglar who abandons them during a crisis at sea and steals their ship back to her hometown. There we meet the Arlong pirates, fishmen under the leadership of their captain Arlong, who have taken over a large portion of the island's mass, including Nami's hometown. Nami is under oath with the pirate group to work as their navigator and draw sea maps for them. And if she can collect 100 million berries, she can buy both her town and her freedom. It's a story of heartbreak and betrayal, leading up to the most iconic scene in the whole franchise and a battle between man and fish. When compared to the bigger story arcs in One Piece, Arlong Park is like comparing a minnow to a shark. It's short and sweet, with enough characters and plot lines laid out to be easy to read through in keeping with the previous arcs. But what the Arlong Park arc puts on the table are elements that made this part in the story so impactful that later on, they could be recycled or revamped for the future. There are three essential elements in this arc that are pivotal to the later success story that is One Piece. And for the first one, we gotta look deep in the waters. Part 1. Arlong and the Fishmen. The appearance of Fishmen were the first major world-shattering reveal to hit the waters of the One Piece world, well before the introductions of poneglyphs, Sky Island, or Haki. Originally, this species was planned to make an appearance in the 3rd chapter, but an editor for Ichiro Oda at the time suggested to put them in this arc, So give a round of applause to Oda's former editor, cause thanks to him, we got ourselves the series' first jump into world building. Fishmen are half human, half fish hybrids who can not only breathe underwater and at a low atmospheric pressure, but also have the strength of 10 men, making them very dangerous on the high seas. Arlong acts as a warlord of the island and profits off the inhabitants' money, mostly to be used as bribes and offerings to keep his activities a secret from the Navy. His role in the arc is to act as an imposing opposite to our hero, Monkey D. Luffy, which in early One Piece was kind of a running trend. Overall, the East Blue Saga had an underlying theme of what makes a true captain. Axeham Morgan's theme was pride, Buggy the Clown's was treasure, Kuro's was ambition, and Don Krieg's was might. As for Arlong, he was the amalgamation of all the previous East Blue villains' core personas, but with one significant difference: his ideals. Arlong sees humans as inferior, beneath the level of fishmen due to their inability to swim or breathe underwater in a world nearly covered by sea. He takes every opportunity to show how weak humans are, either by killing them or mercilessly attacking citizens who might be deemed a threat. And to add more depth to his character, unlike the other antagonists who would kill their underlings just for being in the way or out of malice, Arlong cares deeply for his brethren, never crossing the line of harming them unless it was by outside interference. Thus, the only good humans to him are ones who can offer a trait useful to his dastardly plans of domination, like the Marine Captain Nezumi, or Nami, a girl he keeps a tight rope on so that she can draw maps that can lead to the birth, in his head, to an Arlong empire. And that is what makes him a great counter to Luffy, who values camaraderie and freedom among anything else, and who won't easily be liable to commit heinous acts of piracy to get it. Sawtooth Arlong is not the best One Piece villain by a long shot. I mean, he plays a part of a villain well enough, but when compared to the others, he was more like the baseline that Oda took and improved upon. You can notice it by comparing Arlong to Crocodile. Both have their own antagonistic qualities that make them spread apart, but Crocodile adds more to it by being a nasty strategist and a literal force of nature to our heroes and allies. Arlong might not be up there with the others in terms of wickedness and dimension, but at least his villainous agenda still lives on. And that is based on the species he hails from, fishmen. With the introduction of a brand new humanoid species, suddenly the world of One Piece was beginning to expand its horizons. Soon afterwards, we get to see more and more of what the world can offer, cause later down the line and at the beginning of the Grand Line, we get a first encounter with a giant whale, giant rabbits, and literal giants. Much like the Grand Line, anything could happen, which means the story can go into any direction the author sees fit. One minute you are on an island of sand, next you are on Skypiea facing off against God. Then you are running away from zombies on a ghost ship to riding Yagaras in a city of water like Water 7. For people reading or watching, it keeps their engagement levels always on high alert as all bets are off on what wacky and mysterious things are going to happen next. And going back to Water 7 for a minute, we get to see another fishman play a part in the larger narrative and help build on the truths of merfolk. Now, if you were a first-time viewer, you initially thought fish people were all a bunch of savages, monsters. The Arlong pirates destroyed homes, towns, and even families. So of course, our first reaction to them was rage. We hated them. We thought that all fishmen were like that. But when the shipwright named Tom comes in with a whole lot of manly gusto, he is outcasted by the citizens and treated as a second-class citizen by officials around him. Now the image we associated with fishmen has suddenly warped, to a point where we even question a former villain's own ideologies. Hachi the Octopus was a member of the Arlong Pirates, and accompanied his captain on his acts of tyranny, and coming into contact with the Straw Hats again gives him a chance to mend the past between him and Nami, culminating in a heartbreaking moment of collapse as Hachi is put into his lowest point as he is berated, insulted, and even shot by high nobles. If you still don't get where I'm going at, well, maybe something like this will remind you. Yep. It's very obvious how the fishmen and merfolk have transformed into allegories of prejudice and racism, all leading to a climactic conclusion on Fishman Island, where Arlong's legacy has poisoned the minds of the youth on what humans are, creating the new Fishmen pirates. Granted, these guys don't contribute too much to the actual plot and can just be essentially Arlong Pirates 2.0 but less interesting, but keep in mind, if you are notorious enough to get a copycat group based on your actions and goals, then you definitely made gold. Unless it's Hody Jones, but that's besides the point. Now, if it were just Arlong and his fishmen that made One Piece for what it is for world building, chances are the series wouldn't have stood long enough as a king of shonen for a solid 2 decades. That's why the next ingredient on its road to success is just as important. Part 2. The Girl with the Arlong Tattoo. Nami's role in the story before Arlong was very minimal, despite a lot of clues being left around to suggest her ulterior motives. Before then, she was playing the role of a Fujiko-inspired character who loves money and tangerines. On her home island, she acts more sinister and heartless to the people around her, but it's immediately revealed to be a face she wears in order to keep the fishmen from suspecting her true allegiance. Her true aim has always been to free her village from Arlong and his goons, with money accumulated over the past 8 years. And the majority of the arc is spent with her risking life and limb to keep her friends alive. With Kokoyashi, with Zoro, and with Usopp. She acts with total independence as to not let anyone else get hurt by the monsters who have brought tragedy to her childhood back then. But her cunning and patient planning comes to a screeching halt when she is betrayed at the last second. She loses all her money thanks to the Marines Arlong paid off, and thus the villagers whom she has always looked out for until this point take up arms and rush into what will be their deaths. Nami, in desperation and rage, lashes out a violent yet pointless retaliation on the tattoo bearing Arlong's face. Luffy does eventually stop her from self-harming as she tearfully breaks down in front of him and finally asks for help. This setup is widely considered by fans to be one of the greatest moments in the series' history, especially when you consider how it plays back to when Nami was a little kid and her backstory with Bellemere. As a child, she grew up poor and wishing she was born to a rich family so that she can get prettier outfits and better meals. Yet when Arlong comes along and kills her adopted mother right in front of her, Jesus Christ, she is given the money she always wanted, but at what cost? She loses the trust of the village and even her adoptive sister, but vows to make everything right again by freeing the village based on a promise that Arlong was never going to keep. That is why she is so focused on money overall, even to the extent of ditching a pack of eccentric yet determined friends to fulfill her solo mission, despite a lifelong dream of navigation and a desire to draw a map of the entire world. Her arc of self-sacrifice is finally paid off when Luffy and his friends tear down the literal prison that is keeping Nami's dream locked up, liberating and giving her something more valuable than gold or jewels. Nami is still just as hungry as ever to make mountains of doubloons like before, but now with her freedom, she can get whatever she wants along with her friends. Although based on their spending habits, she is pretty stingy on sharing her portion of the reward. Now, by taking a step back for a minute, you can quickly see why this character arc works so well to warrant making other characters have this similar frame of reference. If we compare Nico Robin to Nami, they have very similar archetypes, and I'm not just talking about how they look almost the same in boob sizes. They both have histories that give them their ambitions and views on the world, they both have connections to the main narrative as a whole, and both have a desire to be a Straw Hat Pirate. This also worked for Chopper, Frankie, Brook, and Jinbei, all based on how the stories harbor back to moments in time that defined who they are today. Hell, many of the crewmates also had an arc of leaving the ship due to a personal contention with themselves, stemming very closely from Nami's story. Even taking the desire of being part of the crew out of it, a lot of side characters have this same level of depth in writing. People like Vivi and Wiper hold a thread to the plots of their own stories, and villains like Doflamingo, Senior Pink, and Big Mom have their own minuscule backstories that flesh out their own characters. This formula works very well with the structure of the One Piece story, because it makes every person we follow or are introduced to hold more value and intrigue, no matter if they become a part of the main cast or are just an obstacle for the characters to get over. But as long as the bonds they share are tougher than a sea prism stone, then they can get through anything. Clever little segue to our last and most important part of One Piece. Part 3. The Power of Friendship. One of the biggest problems of Shonen Jump stories is that the idea that being friends with someone can overpower the biggest of enemies is really corny, and can become its own deus ex machina. You have to balance this sort of stuff out because blurring out that friendship is the best thing ever is the equivalent of making a fart and telling people it smells like roses. I'm not trying to kick shame any series that uses it, but do keep in mind that for someone like me, it's becoming a major turnoff. But One Piece is a major exception to this, because there is a reason for it. And the Arlong Park arc was the first major step in building this theme into a trademark for the series. And this can be shown in the interactions of the characters. In this case, 3 of them hold the most weight in the entirety of the Arlong Park plot: Luffy, Arlong, and Nami. Arlong and Luffy's ideals clash with one another both physically and emotionally, while Nami stands by and is torn between these two captains. Luffy sees Nami as someone worth protecting, worth putting his life on the line. A nakama. He doesn't care much for details about Nami's heartache, since he's the type of guy who more so leaps into the heat of the moment when he can feel a person's suffering. He understands what Nami is going through by her personal interactions with him, and when she reaches her lowest point, he is not hesitant to learn why this happened. He just knows in his head that someone is going to get punched in the face for making his navigator cry. Arlong, on the other hand, abuses Nami and uses the villagers as leverage to get what he wants. When he first met her, he saw the accuracy in her sea charts and kidnaps her based on her talent. She is branded as Arlong's property and isn't concerned one bit of her well-being. He just uses Nami for his benefit, and in his twisted mind, thinks of this as being a quote-unquote friend to her. He gives her all the money that she always wanted when she was a kid, and in return, he gets a full chart of the East Blue. And if you really want to hammer it home, Arlong's idea of friendship is a friendship of utility, seeing Nami as a tool. Luffy's friendship is a friendship of the good, mutual respect and admiration, something the great Aristotle thinks of as an invaluable bond. It takes a lot longer to build this type of friendship, but in the long term, it's more gratifying and enduring to have friends that will stand by each other no matter what. They have a unique connection that no one outside can understand, and the Straw Hat Pirates are the best examples of this dynamic. When the main crew walks down to the gates of Arlong Park, they are in sync, different in personality and skills, but are bound together as one single entity, fighting on another's behalf, who was for 2/3 of the story wanting to protect everyone by themselves, can finally let a group of friends fight on her wishes. In subtle terms, Arlong lost this battle of friendship. His crew never showed any affection to Nami's interests or dreams. They just saw her as a navigator they locked up in her room for days on end, drawing charts till her fingers were bloody. This angers our main hero to no end, and he destroys the one place keeping Nami from her freedom: Arlong's legacy. And when the dust settles, Luffy stands victorious and yells out to Nami, "Omae wa ore no nakama da!" This single phrase, this one line, paints the rest of the series' emotional oomph like an open canvas. To put it in perspective, could you imagine a scene like Alabasta's final conclusion without friendship involved? Or a similar walk to face the world government at Enies Lobby for another crewmate? No, you can't, because this idea of friendship is integral to One Piece's identity. Every arc after this has some form of kinsmanship, and it's in my analysis that this could very well be the reason for why One Piece has been the king of shonen for so long. Is it a cliche? Yeah. Can it be corny at points? Oh, fucking absolutely. But because the series has been going on for this long, the friendships between the characters feels genuine. People have spent hours or weeks catching up on the exploits of this ragtag group of pirates' journeys and personal struggles, and have grown a connection with them. Now, we have become a member of the crew. We are a Straw Hat Pirate because we want that freedom to do whatever we want and to have friends that we can cherish and love unconditionally. And no matter if the world outside is evolving due to the winds of change or the politics are slowly turning against us, we still have our comrades to follow and to lean on. It's not the most complex understanding of the meaning of friendship by any stretch. I mean, there are plenty of series that can get really in depth with it, but I've also seen series that fall flat on their face and just come off as just vanilla. One Piece is a happy balance. It has a lot of cheese, but the appropriate amount of charm that makes it evergreen, which is why Arlong Park helped fully realize the potential that friendship can bring to a series all about pirates. Alright, to wrap things up, Arlong Park is the most important part of One Piece's long history in serialized media. It didn't take too many chances from the norm, but instead evolved those elements into a granddaddy of world building, character development, and thematic exploration. And while the series might look goofy on first glance, it presents something so unique and so mind-shattering that I think is going to be impossible for anyone to duplicate. Fuck, Oda is literally killing himself every day just to work on One Piece. His schedule speaks for itself, but it's thanks to his creativity and ambition that One Piece has become a household name to not only Japan, but to many countries in the world. While it never got big here in America, anyone you talk to can explain why it has been fully ingrained in their memory. For me, a guy who didn't have a lot of friends growing up, I grew up with these guys. They were my role models, champions of integrity and purity. They gave me a desire to do whatever I felt made me happy, and to not be chained down by society's rules or ethics. If you want to do something, do it. But don't be like me and go streaking through the streets. That was my B. If you're wanting to start One Piece and are anxious to know where it gets good, then maybe a simple walk to the park might suffice. Because after that walk is an unforgettable. Everyone for getting to the end of this video. Maybe I'll do another video on One Piece again, maybe not, but please comment down below on what were your favorite moments in One Piece. If you like my content, subscribe and spread it around to all your anime friends. And also to go read or watch One Piece, that's a huge plus. It's your bra man, setting sail on the Grand Line.